and I was able to see firsthand how dysfunctional Congress is behind the walls of the buildings up there, and it was very disconcerting, especially being a young, bright, right out of college. You had your perception of how government is supposed to work, how they're supposed to work for the people, by the people, and I learned very quickly, unfortunately, that that was not the case. So I very much closely paid a lot of attention to the ongoings of what happens, not just in federal, but in government in general. And as stated, I'm proud to serve as a law enforcement officer. I'm proud to mentor our youth as a teacher and a coach. And I'm also proud to lead in finding solutions and being a self-taught web programmer. So I've done a lot. I've dabbled around with a lot of things. I'm also a proud husband and a father of 3 children. So I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old, 2 boys and a girl. And so it's been fun with them too. But I think it's all these experiences and opportunities that has allowed me to grow in as a person and also to better understand different institutions. And it's also that American dream. That's why I love our country so much, is that we have that American dream to discover and live the life as we choose, with our freedoms and rights and liberties. And I'm going to work tirelessly to make sure that every American, regardless of their race, their religion, their creed, to make sure that everybody has a shot at that American dream. And it's tough right now because we have divisive politics that's been permeated with our nation's capital for far too long, and there's a lack of representation, especially here with our own representative Steny Hoyer. When you have that lack of representation, they're putting lobbyists in their own party, and they're putting their own self-interest first. We as individuals are losing our rights and liberties slowly over time. I'm an advocate for maintaining those constitutional rights and liberties. I'm very fiscally responsible, and I'm also big on limited government too. And we've been tested as a country when it comes to our rights and liberties. And so for example, while I worked on Capitol Hill, I paid attention closely to the bills that were passed. You had the National Defense Authorization Bill in 2012 that was passed. That while it did have a lot of great things, it had verbiage in there that took away the due rights for American citizens, or due process for American citizens. You also had the Patriot Act. While again, it had some great provisions in there to help communications between law enforcement officers and departments, it also took away our Fourth Amendment rights when it comes to bulk data collection and warrantless wireless searches of our mobile devices. It's been expanded upon ever since then too. And then you also had the Affordable Care Act, which removed the First Amendment right to religious freedom, with the mandatory mandates. And fortunately, the Supreme Court overruled that with Little Sisters of the Poor recently, which is great. But then you also have things that are in the queue right now. You have HR 5717, which is it's a gun control bill that's in the House that's going to circumvent our Second Amendment rights to protect ourselves. So again, it's also no secret too that the last few months that our way of life has been turned on its head. We had coronavirus, COVID-19, we had economic contraction, social unrest, bitter partisanship, rogue government officials, you name it. There's been a lot of issues that we had with in our country, and then we also have political factions that are increasingly displaying their disregard for civil discourse and our right to free speech, and forcing their ideologies onto others. And these are things, if we're not vigilant enough, if we're making sure that our laws, if they're being written and protected to preserve it for everybody, we may lose those. And personally, to me, like I said, I'm big with I'm a big constitutionalist. I think our rights and liberties are there for a reason. We were the first country to start this and to give we the people the power, and I think it's fantastic that we do that. But in regards to the First Amendment, you see social media with them curbing discussions. They have the ability to curate and censor content that they may not agree with, and you see it in the cities throughout the country now, in Seattle and Portland, where you have these, like I said, these factions that have taken control of cities, and they've become exactly what they've said that they hate. They've been censoring people. They have built walls. They've taken land that's not theirs. They've even developed their own police force who have been bullied and harassed and even beaten independent reporters who've gone there to report and document what's going on there. And I think it's very scary what's going on in this country in regards to that. So big with our First Amendment, our religious freedoms too. We said the Pledge of Allegiance right before this, and I thank you all for taking part of that too. But August 11th, our Representative Steny Hoyer was on the House floor when they went pro forma for a session, and he was on the floor and he said the Pledge of Allegiance, and he neglected to say "under God" while saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's very telling, just with how he has aligned himself with far left ideologies, and he's not looking after us and representing us. And that's one big concern that I hear from a lot of constituents around the district, is that with Steny Hoyer, that I have people who are Democrats and independents that they have written letters to him. They have reached out to him with concerns and issues that they need help with. And many people, they would either get a cookie cutter letter, which they showed me that addressed nothing that they inquired for, or they didn't hear anything at all. So it's getting back to that representative government that we need to make sure we have somebody there who's working with somebody. We have a beautiful, diverse district that we live in, and we need to make sure that we have somebody who's there, who's going to take the time to listen to everybody. And so again, too, going through the list of First Amendment rights, taxes. I think we have a big issue with the way that government has been misappropriating taxpayer money. I like to say taxpayer money because it's not the government money; it's our money that they've taken from us to use and appropriate. Right now, we're $26 trillion in debt, and it continues to climb. They have the upcoming stimulus bills and more packages that are in the queue. And again, that's our money. And just for example, I took a look in 2019 with our federal budget, and I only looked in 4 and 8. I definitely want to take time to look at other things, but there's a lot of projects that we may not need. But the big thing is we need government efficiency with taxpayer money. But just to throw you a couple things out there, so we had $100,000 subsidizing the film industry in Pakistan in 2019. We had $2 million that went to attempt to emerge trust between the Tunisian political parties and their citizens. We spent our taxpayer dollars, $108,000, to research involving zebrafish on hooking them on nicotine. Again, it's $700,000 that was spent on that. We have $1.2 million studying online dating in Egypt. $33 million buying textbooks in Afghanistan, which come to find out months later were all burned. And come to find out that just alone with foreign aid that we have projects like that, there's $50 billion of our taxpayer money that went to projects like that. And when you go to it with the taxpayer, that's $8,215 per taxpayer that it cost us. And we take a look at how that money could have been spent differently, and it could have gone back to the debt to reduce the debt. That could have also been 7 months worth of health care coverage for our veterans, active and inactive. And then also when we talk about our infrastructure, I know there's a lot of infrastructure projects that we have within our district. I know there's a lot of water issues of public water lines in Prince George's County, and transportation issues in Charles County. We have old dilapidated bridges down here in between Calvert and St. Mary's, and also the nice bridge going into Virginia. There's a lot of other things that money can be appropriated for, but again, it's government spending that's gone out of control. They've gotten rid of the debt ceiling, and they're misusing taxpayer money. And during my time working at St. Mary's Riken, I was fortunate to teach there as well, and I taught computer programming, and I had a group of students. This was in 2014, I believe. It was when the healthcare.gov website came out, and it crashed. So I had this group of students. I was only teaching them for a couple months and about programming. I said, you know what? Let's take a look at their code. Let's see if we can find errors. And sure enough, I had a group of students who took a look at it, and they found errors within the first 100 lines of code. And come to find out, the amount that our government invested into that was $6 million of our money that was invested to a website that was broken, and yet I had a group of brand new students who were able to find issues and figure out how to fix them. And what's even more infuriating is that come to find out later on when with our government, when they fixed the website, rebuilt it, it ended up from a $6 million investment to $1.7 billion project to build that website. And again, like I said, it's government efficiency. It's making sure that they're being efficient with taxpayer money and not overspending. And when I worked at Capitol Police, we had overtime issues. When I worked on the Senate Division, where we had 20 to 30 officers nightly who were called over to stay late, to work double shifts, and so I took it upon myself. I asked my coworkers, asked my sergeants, asked my officials. I said, how are the ways that we can fix this? Does this make sense? Maybe we can have these officers relieve these officers in these posts. And I came up with a couple different proposals, which I submitted. I took the added time to do that. It went up to the chain of command, and the chief ended up approving it. And the new schedule, the new rotation schedule, saved the department money. It reduced our overtime need from, like I said, 20-30 to 5 or less. And it saved the department money, which ended up saving taxpayer money because it's paid for based on the legislative branch. And it's taken that extra time. I love tinkering. I love trying to find things that are very solution-oriented to try and find ways that we can make things run much more efficiently while, not overcharging taxpayers. Government accountability is a big issue too. As stated earlier, Steny Hoyer's been in office way too long. He's been in office for longer. I've been alive. He's actually been in political office since Lyndon B. Johnson was president, 1966. So I think we have a big issue when you talk about a lot of the problems that we're having with this country, with the political divide, lack of representation. It ties in, I believe, with the lack of term limits. We have too many career politicians that are there to self-serve them and not the citizens. So I'm for term limits. I'm also for no more additional salary or entitlement increases to congressional members. I think it's a disservice that our members of Congress have a lifetime pension. It's something that I would like to see removed too. And also too, like I said, we have the debt. It's as inflated as it is. We need to balance the budget. We need single issue bills. And we need to be much more affordable with that. So I'm an advocate for free market principles. I stand with pro-growth policies. I think it's the free market that would be better to promote a healthy, competitive economy that will also empower individuals and more opportunities to jobs, which helps communities too. And when companies compete without government intervention or government picking winners and losers, that's when the consumers and the economy will win. So, a little bit too, and like I said, going back a little bit as well, it's no secret that the past 2 months we've been challenged as a country. Like I said, we've been divided more than ever. I'd like to think of myself a little more as a bridge builder. Ultimately, I think we all believe in liberty. We care about our freedom and individual freedoms. I think that's the new fault line that we have in our country now. It's not so much left versus right. It's more about people who believe and want liberty versus those who want more authority to control you. And that's why I think this election is so critical. But I've been working a lot. Like I said earlier, our district is very diverse of thought. And personally with me, I enjoy this conversation. My political beliefs aren't going to 100% align with anybody else. And if there is somebody I don't agree with, does that mean I'm going to have ill will against them? Absolutely not. I think it's important to rediscover the art of civil discourse and nuance and be able to listen and share different perspectives. And it's because with these conversations we can elevate each other and we can springboard ideas off each other without canceling anything or without having such animosity that we're seeing in our country, while not sacrificing our individual rights and freedoms and being fiscally responsible with taxpayer money. And like I said, our Bill of Rights are intended to give every individual, regardless of their identity, the opportunity to prosper. And I'm going to make sure that those liberties are being protected without taking the rights away from anybody else. And, like I said, the current nature of the country right now, we have violence, we have looting, we have rioting. These are things that aren't protected rights, and the silence even from our Congressman Steny Hoyer, I think, is definitely with that. You have innocent victims, and their lives have been taken from them. You have cities that are burning. You have businesses that are being destroyed, and we're seeing an exodus of citizens from a lot of cities too right now, and I think this needs to stop. And what's also infuriating is that we have certain government officials throughout the country that want to defund or disband the police. And meanwhile, while their cities are having a drastic increase in crime and violence, their leaders are hiring private security to protect them while their citizens are left to fend for themselves. This is absolutely unacceptable. And with me being a former police officer, is police reform needed? Yes, there are things that we can do. There's always things that we can do to fix injustices that are out there. And there are injustices in our society. We need to continue to work towards fixing those and create that more perfect union within our country. But with police and with my personal training too, we had a lot of great training in the academy. They taught us verbal judo, how to talk to individuals, how to de-escalate situations, how to put yourself in positions to to make sure not only you're safe in your person, but those around you. But when you're out of the police academy, police officers are usually getting training maybe 1-2 days a week or 2 days a year. And so, if anything, to make sure that we are rooting out any excessive use of force, we need to make sure that the bad apples in the police force, that they're out, because one bad apple in the police force is one too many. But we also need to make sure that the police officers are adequately being trained to deal with a wide array of scenarios that they may have come about them day in, day out, and make sure that they don't go through what I learned in the police academy and also through college to continue to compromise. So they need more training. They need to make sure that they are mentally and cognitively ready for the job day in, day out. And doing that's going to take a little more money too. But again, it's time to restore law and order with our country and work towards a more perfect union. And again, I'm going to work tirelessly for free market principles for every American, regardless of their race or creed. I'm going to be an advocate for your constitutional rights. I'm going to strive to create a culture of transparency and accountability within Congress, and work to rein in that out-of-control spending and reduce the national debt, and work to keep big government in check too. I love this country too much. I want to see the best for everybody, and I'm going to work to find solutions to continue our path towards that more perfect union. And together, and you're going to have somebody who's going to work with the President Trump too. We can ensure that our nation's bright future will ensure for generations to come.
Linda, you have, I'm trying to go ahead, Linda.
Okay. Let me put the camera. So we're going to open the floor to questions. So depending on your device, you can click on raise your hand, or as Lee had mentioned, you can use *6.
See if I can.
Hey, Linda and Lee, could you unmute us all so we can clap for the young man?
I don't know that I can unmute you all, but I did unmute Linda. Linda, can you speak now?
Well, I was going to open the floor to questions. I guess it sounds like someone has a question.
Yeah. Well, I acknowledged Nancy. Nancy, do you have a question?
No, I just want to clap for the young man.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna acknowledge Chris here for a moment.
Hello?
Go ahead. You have a question?
Oh no, I apologize. I accidentally.
Okay. Okay. We're moving on. Here's a question. Whoops.
Hello, this is Bernice. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I was wondering if he has any brochures or anything that we could pass around in the neighborhood to try to get some more people on board.
I'm going to unmute Chris.
Hello. Yes, I do. I have a lot of literature, and I'll actually be up in the area later this week. More than happy to stop by and meet with any of you, or even to deliver. I have a whole bunch of yard signs. If you would like yard signs, I have a lot of door hangers and palm cards with literature, which go over some of my stances. And it also has my contact information too. So even if you all are more than happy to help out with, passing them out to your neighbors, your friends, your family, and let them know that I'm accessible too. My contact information is right there. So if anybody did have any questions, feel free to reach out. But yeah, I look forward to bringing those up, and feel free to reach out to me. Even after this meeting, I'm more than happy to drive up to the area and deliver literature for you all.
If you deliver some stuff even to me, I could pick it up there.
Absolutely. I'm gonna write down to make sure to contact you, Bernice, after this.
Here we go.
Yes, Chris, this is Tom with 3 quick questions for you. You said you're going to be in Beltsville for sign waving. When is the date and time of that?
So the date and time of that is going to be Tuesday, September 29th, 4:30 p.m. through 6 p.m. And we're going to meet at the Route 1 and Solomon Road near the Costco. So I'll have signs. I'll have some. I got to get some more shirts made. They were a lot of volunteer signed shirts have been taken, but I have another order coming through, so I'll be able to pass those out to you for anybody to come out and help.
Okay.
Tuesday, September 29th.
Great, thank you. Second question: have you made any attempt to debate Mr. Hoyer?
I just received. It's funny you said that. I'm sorry to laugh. But I just received the League of Women's Voters. They were trying to coordinate, and they had it on the schedule for a couple months for us to have a debate on October 1st. I just received the email from them today that they apologize that they have to cancel because Steny Hoyer has rejected to meet.
Well, perhaps you could go on stage and have a empty chair next to you and debate them that way.
Yeah, we'll have an empty chair, and on the chair we'll have unseated Steny sitting on there too.
And third quick question, in terms of donations, has the RNC or the Maryland GOP been of any assistance to you thus far?
Yes, the past couple weeks they've been helping out. They pushed out an email with a write-up for me, and which some donations started coming through from them in that aspect. They have also, they're working on, if they haven't started yet, they are working on very shortly to start making phone calls and phone banking on the campaign's behalf, to where they're looking to do. They said at least 100,000 calls within a week to make sure that everybody is everybody's going to vote and everyone's going to be out there. I also have a few other volunteers who've been making phone calls on our behalf to Democrats and independents too. Fortunately, the campaign message has been resonating very well. I just had a brunch with a family, Democrat family of 5 in Bowie a couple weekends ago, where they invited me for brunch. And they brought some of their friends and family over, and it's the message. I think it's the message of our freedoms and rights and protecting them, being fiscally responsible with their money, taxpayer money, and the fact that Steny isn't around. He's not around. He's not talking to anybody. It's
right.
People are time for a change, and I think with the unfortunate situation that we have with coronavirus and everything being shut down, and there wasn't any sports, no movies, anything, it's kind of enable an awakening within our country and within our communities, to where people have been paying attention to what's going on and seeing the constant squabbles. Nothing's been going on in Capitol Hill. I mean, they extended recess for a couple weeks, longer than they should have, and people are upset by that. They see a lot of other issues like immigration, like healthcare, or the infrastructure that has been continuously kicked down the road. Things that are important to people, and nothing's being done in D.C., and I think people are tired of the status quo.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see if there's another.
Do we have a question?
Okay, hang on.
Hi, Chris. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I would like to hear from you. Can you elaborate your position much of free speech and abortion or something more? Can you elaborate on that, on your position there?
Well, for abortion, I am pro-life. I think we must protect life from the womb to the grave. And if we can't protect life, then how can we protect liberty? So I'm very pro-life. And with our freedom of speech, I'm a big proponent on free speech, making sure they're maintaining those. And I think it's first and foremost through the media, through the media itself. And we have unfortunate factions throughout our country right now that are trying to take those away. If they don't like what you say, they don't like your opinion, they want to cancel you. They're trying to take you away from your job. I mean, you even see there's been a couple instances where banks have been turning away people just because of their voice of opinion on social media or events. And personally with me, regardless if you agree with certain individuals or ideas, we should always be free to have that open discourse and challenge those ideas. We're too diverse as human beings to all have the same perspectives and life experiences, and we have to embrace these differences. And the moment we lose our First Amendment right, we're going to lose everything else. And I don't know about you all, but I don't want to see what China does, where they have a social credit score on their individuals. They want something else that they hang out with people. We may have the wrong perception of their government, and they're reducing the social credit score. And they're limited their jobs. And that's not freedom. That's not liberty. And we need to make sure we uphold this for everybody.
That your opponent has been around for many, many years, so he has a very strong foundation. He basically doesn't need to go around after for vote because he's been around for so long time. So, did you get any good advice from anybody, any strategy on how you make yourself, more present in the community, and how to gain your vote? Because with 2019 around, you cannot really meet people, large crowds. You cannot have meetings. The church is almost empty, and it's how. If anybody will advise you how to reach out on people besides, signs on the street, anything else for them to go?
Well, yes, and I have received a lot of great consultation and help. I do want to thank Lee Havis a lot. Lee has been a great friend and great with helping out. He gave me some great input and advice with working in Prince George's County with his experience living there and working there too. But you're right. I mean, it's a very difficult situation even for the primary with all of the candidates because everything was shut down. We couldn't go door knocking. We couldn't go to churches. We couldn't go to very much in public. And luckily, everything's starting to open up. But as you said, churches are still empty right now. There's a lot of churches.
Yeah, it's a very, very big disadvantage.
Yeah.
Because he has already such a strong foundation. He doesn't even need the campaign.
Yeah.
But you are the one who really has to go out there and meeting people, crowd, but with this COVID-19, really we are very limited. To go out there at the field, and knocking on the door. Yeah. I guess that really, you got to get some help from churches.
Absolutely. And
that's the one where really, we can get some good strong help, from conservative pastors and conservative churches. We can reach their members,
Absolutely, and I agree, and that's why I've been trying to, as much as possible. If we can't have events throughout the district where we can meet at churches, we'll take it to them. We'll go sign waving. We'll work on trying to get volunteers. Not necessarily door knocking, but the door hangers on their door. I know there's a lot of people that are still timid with meeting new people in front of their houses. So, but we're going to find ways to do that. Definitely been leveraging social media too. Everybody's on their computers now. They said with maps. There's a lot of people that are watching their maps from home on the computer. So we're working on different ways to make sure that we can target and have information disseminated to people, whether it's through Google or through Facebook. I mean, Google and Facebook alone have 80 to 90% of all internet traffic goes through them at some point. So if you utilize that correctly, and have advertisements and have video play in front of them the moment they log in their computer and they access the internet, you can see a big Palombi thing right there. That's going to be another another ad to help with name recognition, to help learn about the campaign, and ultimately it's to be the greatest word of mouth, the greatest way to outreach is word of mouth too. So it's very dependent on supporters and friends and family. You know, if you like the message, please talk to as many people as you know, share on social media, make phone calls, email your friends, text your friends, and hopefully that will permeate within society even more. So there's a lot of different ways that we can do things to try to maximize to get outreach, you know, especially with everything still not being 100% open right now. But I agree with you. There's a lot to be done, which is why I'm drinking coffee at almost 8 o'clock at night, because there's a lot of work to be done for even myself tonight too.
Linda.
So if no one has any more questions, we can go ahead with meeting business.
Well, Chris can talk if he wants to wrap up.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, I just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity tonight in discussing and sharing my platform and ideas. And I definitely want to continue conversation with you all as well. Feel free on my website, chrispalombi.com. I'm a big computer nerd who built it, so everything, when you comment or if you send a message, it goes directly to me. I respond. So looking forward to continued discussion and dialogue. And I'm gonna bring up some signs this weekend too. So if anybody wants signs and literatures or even just wants to meet, I'm more than happy to do that with you all too. But I greatly appreciate your time. I greatly appreciate your support, and looking forward to you all, helping out too to be a part of a movement that hopefully we can finally get Steny Hoyer out after 40 years of holding the people seat of Maryland. So thank you.
I'd like to say something. Thank you, Chris, for coming and giving us all this valuable information. I took a little notes, and I was just very surprised. $100,000 for the film industry in Pakistan. That's really spending. So I'm really glad that you're running for office to correct some of this stuff. And I like the fact that you have a law enforcement background. That way you'll know what type of training our officers need today. I'm particularly concerned about their mental health training and dealing with people who have autism. So I'm glad you're running for office and you can help to correct some of these things within law enforcement.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the okay, I'm unmuted now.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, so we wanted to give a treasurer's report. If Nora Lee could give us a short report on the state of the Treasury.
Nora Lee, I don't see her on the attendance list. I'm gonna select Tom. Let Tom speak up, so maybe he can let us know. Tom, you're on the air. Tom Slezak.